This is 100% false. You don't get it, do you? The US dollar is everything dollar, not the oil dollar, not the food dollar. Everything is traded from a single grain of rice to a gallon of gas to cars to missiles to airliners to cruise ships, all in dollars. 88% of global trade is conducted in US dollars. Oil is a very small portion of it. The petrodollar got us started on this path. The petrodollar is no longer on this path with us. Everyone trades in dollars. The yuan, 1.2% of trade is conducted in the yuan. 88% is in the US dollar. The other statistics that we have with regard to the US dollar is in every other currency. Name a top 5 currency other than the US dollar. You have the yen, the pound sterling, the euro, and the Chinese yuan. All have fallen relative to the dollar in the past year. The dollar has grown stronger. And using the cookies, and I know that was a bit convoluted, but the reality is dollar-denominated debt increases the security and strength of the dollar. Countries write IOUs to other countries in dollars. And there are tens of trillions of dollars of these IOUs on the market. The US knows these are out on the market and will never print enough currency to fulfill them. So there will always be a demand for the dollar. It is a brilliantly simple system. The dollar trades everything. And people talk about backing it with gold. That is ridiculous because the US has the most gold on the world. So even if that were a thing, the US would still be in the position of the most powerful. But 2, it means that you would have to mine enough gold to match the growing rate of the global economy. There's not enough gold on Earth to do that. You would essentially stagnate the economy if you started pegging currency, the major reserve currency, to gold. The reason the dollar is strong is not because it's backed by anything, not because it's the petrodollar or even the euro dollar, but that makes somewhat sense too because it is the global medium of trade for the most part. It is based on the fact that people trust the stability of the United States. They trust the full faith and credit of the United States. The United States, despite what we see going on around us as Americans, is still the most economically stable, the most militarily stable, the most demographically stable for a first world country, and the most geographically stable. I don't know, did I say that one already? Military, geographically, demographically, and whatever. But the reality is, on top of that, the 2 most powerful equity trading organizations on Earth are American, and they're more powerful by a humongous margin. The New York Stock Exchange is number 1, and NASDAQ is number 2. Number 3 on the global stage is Shanghai. Shanghai trade has a market capitalization of about $6.75 trillion. When you take the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange and combine them, both American organizations, they're worth 32 trillion with a T, 32 trillion more than the Shanghai Exchange. The US as a reserve currency has more currency and reserves across the globe than all other currencies combined. Again, the US dollar is going nowhere. It has to do with the fact that people know that the US is going to exist tomorrow. It's going to exist in 10 years. It's going to exist in 100 years because We are virtually uninvadable. Our military is the most powerful in the world. We have the largest capital markets in the world. We have the largest companies in the world. We have the most stable labor market in the world. And therefore, people flock to the currency because they know that in times of trouble and times of strife, you can always count on the US economy and the US dollar being there as a stable base to hold value. And even China does that. That's why they have like a couple $1 trillion in US dollars being held. It's not that much. It was that much at one time. I think it's only like 700 billion now, but only. Japan. Japan has more in currency reserves than China. Every other country holds massive amounts of currency reserves in the US dollar, and that is because they need them to trade for their fucking Pokemon cards, as I said in my previous video, because no one else is taking yuan. You want to know a quick way to determine if the US dollar is in trouble? Go ask a cartel if they take yuan for their cocaine. It's actually kind of a funny metric, but it's kind of true. They know that the US dollar's value is relatively unchanging and it will be there tomorrow. So that is what they demand their international cocaine trade. It's called the cartel dollar. It's kind of funny. You can actually look it up. I guarantee you, you walk into the Mara Salvatruchas or any of the other cartels, they've changed up the, I can't remember the other one, the one that starts with an S. But regardless, the Signella, I think that's what it is, Signola, whatever. I'm not a cartel guy. But you go to those cartels and be like, hey, I got a bunch of yen. Let me get some of that cocaine. They're going to be like, get the hell out of here. Or they'll just shoot you. And then probably take your yen and then have to go through the ass pain of exchanging it somehow. What's funny is the dollar is so powerful that the Chinese actually launder it. I mean, it's everywhere. The US dollar is everywhere. It's not just oil. This is a currency that is infused everywhere and with everything. And that is why a lot of us are now coining what's called the everything dollar. And that has replaced the petrodollar, and it likely replaced the petrodollar 20 years ago. The petrodollar, backed by oil, matters nothing to the US anymore because you're still going to need your computers and your cars and your food and your whatever other trinkets and gadgets and doodads you want, and you're paying for them in dollars, period.